Paul, thank you very, very much for joining us. How are you?
Really good, thanks. Obviously, first task is done now. It was surreal, kind
Yes.
of seeing myself on TV like that. But yeah, feeling. To be honest, like one thing I really wanted to say before we began this interview is a huge
Yeah,
thank you to the whole of the dental world and to all the support that I've received so far. It's been really kind. So thank you for that.
that's lovely. Really shows how the profession kind of rally around somebody, when it's thrusted into the spotlight,
Honestly,
dentistry.
I couldn't agree more. You never know what the response with these sorts of things are going to be like, but it's
Mm,
been absolutely incredible, way beyond my expectations. So,
that's
yeah, just
lovely.
generally
That's really
thank
good
you.
to hear. Did you have a watch party last night? Did you have like all your friends and family around you, popcorn?
Yeah, I did actually. I had my
Oh,
like
nice.
yeah, I did. I had my family around. We had about like 20 people around. We watched it all
Oh, lovely.
together. And yeah, it was just really nice. Especially for like the first episode sort of thing. It's just really nice because it's like a debut sort of thing. So um,
Yeah, absolutely,
they,
absolutely.
they were making a lot of jokes about me and stuff, but it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. So.
Well, there's going to be more, episode 2 next week. Obviously, you made it through that first one, so there's more of that to come, I'm sure.
Oh, do you know what? So glad I made it through. I'm not gonna lie, it was a very, very tense situation towards the end.
Yeah,
You never know what's gonna happen, sort of thing, when you're in the moment. But
yeah, of course.
on to cheesecakes, I guess.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Look forward to that.
Mm,
I think most people watching will be familiar with who you are, maybe through the Apprentice and the promo around that, but
mm.
perhaps just within dentistry itself. But for those who don't, would you mind just giving us a very short introduction to yourself and your journey into dentistry?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dr. Paul Midha. Graduated from Uni of Sheffield in 2018. Been on quite I would say, quite a unique journey in the fact
Mm.
that about 1 year or about half a year after FD, I got an amazing job opportunity in central London. Bear in mind, I live in Leeds. And
Uh-huh.
I took that opportunity where I was working half the week in central London and half the week in Leeds, which was quite tough because
Yeah.
for the first couple of weeks it was fine, but then the commute really starts to get to you. But the
Mm.
opportunity at Square Mile Dental Centre with incredible clinicians such as Dr. Sanjay Sethi, Dr. Nick Sethi, Elaine Moe,
Mhm.
Amit Patel, to be able to just be in their presence and learn was something that I couldn't refuse. And
Mm.
it also kind of led me to buy my first practice in Leeds in the city centre, which I did about 2.5 years ago now, called Vici
Okay.
Dental. And now we've got a second practice with that. And I think the main thing about our practice is, I wanted to really champion the experience, and that we just really take our time with everything and just make sure patients feel
Sure.
comfortable. So at the same time, in the kind of teaching world as well, I was really lucky to have met kind of Jin and Kish, who really
Yes.
introduced me to kind of lecturing and really have paved the way in my career. I probably wouldn't have applied to
Mm.
the Apprentice if it wasn't for the support I've received from the whole of the Smile group and Jin and
Oh, that's
Kish
lovely.
especially. No, so definitely, they're honestly amazing people. So any thank you I could give to them would be an understatement, to be honest.
That's really nice. You actually preempted my next question, which was
So,
obviously you've got a lot going on there already. You've
mhm,
achieved a lot in a
mm.
short amount of time within
Oh, thank you.
dentistry. What made you apply? Why the apprentice?
I think one thing about myself is I always say if you're not growing, then you're just standing still. And I think the most important thing
Mm.
in life is to kind of put yourself in sort of uncomfortable situations, because that is just how you grow as a person. It's a bit like, the QRST kind of line where if you're not like trying to push yourself, then you're just flatlining, really. So
Mhm.
um, I have I think I have always done that to myself. And then when the opportunity came to be on The Apprentice, it was something that I really pushed for. And I remember when I was 16 years old, actually, watching The Apprentice with my parents, the night before my business studies exam.
Wow.
And I just remember watching it on there and going, you know what, one day that's going to be me. And, 13 years
And
later,
here we are.
13 years later, here we are. So, it just all feels a bit surreal, to be honest, at the moment. Like, life's just a dream
Yeah, I
right
can
now. So,
imagine. Yeah, I'm sure it's a long time coming as well, because obviously you've got that gap in between filming and it airing. You kind of sort of must have the anticipation. I don't know how you cope with that. I always find the anticipation worse than the actual thing you're anticipating, if that makes sense.
So I can't really comment on like the timings and things like that, but all
Yeah.
I'd say is just be present in the moment.
Okay. Nice. I like that. How was the whole experience? So I mean, what was it like seeing it on TV to actually being involved in the process?
That's a really good question. Obviously, I'll only talk about kind of what's happened so far, so the first task,
Of course, yes.
and I think when you see it compared to when you're there, it's actually very similar.
Okay,
And I
that's
felt just as
interesting.
nervous watching it than I did participating in it, to be honest. One thing I will say is it is very mentally challenging, very, very mentally challenging in a good way, in a good way. Um,
Yeah, of course.
so, you know, because no one knows anyone at this point as well. So you're just trying to, and you don't know what the process is like. So you're almost just trying to find your feet at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine as well, sort of trying to work out the type of people you're around too. Obviously, that plays a big part, kind of how people work together, communication, teamwork. I can imagine that's really tricky because you're all from such varied backgrounds and in such different industries and business. Although there's quite a lot of healthcare
Yeah,
representation, I will
honestly, I was
say. There
surprised.
was.
I was surprised. I was like, "Wait, Dr. Paul,
Yeah,
what's going on here?" But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's one thing
yeah,
that The Apprentice. Obviously, I won't speak for them, but that's one thing that The Apprentice really stands for is that kind of inclusion,
yeah,
diversity, and I think
absolutely.
giving the opportunity to be able to meet people that you may not usually in your current walk in life was again just another
Mm.
incredible experience in itself.
Yeah, I bet. How does it feel to be representing dentistry on such a public platform?
This is something that I really heavily considered because for me, I think with the dental profession, it's such a respected profession. Probably one of the most
Yeah.
respected professions in the UK, and you do feel a little bit of pressure that you don't want
Mm.
to put it in a bad light at all. It was in the back of my mind when I was doing the process, but I was always myself. That's one thing I can say, and I can only hope that I represented the profession well.
I mean, I'm not being biased. I think you did in that first episode that I've obviously just watched. It's fresh in my mind, and
Yeah.
you came across very much like how you did when we've met. So
Oh, okay,
that's
that's nice.
I
That's
can
nice.
I can
That's
back
nice
you
to
up
hear,
on that.
actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
That
seemed very authentic.
genuinely really nice to hear because you just don't know. You just don't know how it's going to come
No, of
across and
course,
things like that. But
of
again,
course.
one thing I always promised myself, I just said I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do what I think is right, and then I
Mhm.
know that I can hold my head up high in that regards.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of those watching in the dental profession, what are you hoping they might be able to take from the experience? And that's kind of an odd question, but there's there. Do you hope you can maybe teach the profession something from being in the show, from what's happened so far?
Um, Great question again. I think for me, one of the biggest things is, especially for those that are younger than me, maybe even in dental
Mhm.
school, hopefully it just kind of inspires them to, do something that they really want to do. Don't be afraid to take the leap of faith. Don't be afraid to take risks. Yeah, you may not succeed, but sometimes those are the biggest growth lessons when you don't succeed. When I look back, I celebrate my victories, but I've learned the most from my defeats. So, and for those that are watching that may be older than me, I just hope you enjoy the ride and keep doing what you did.
Amazing, thank you. I have got one more question for you, Paul.
Mhm.
Any key lessons that you took away from the experience? Again, keeping it to this early stages. Obviously, we don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. Is there anything that you took from that first episode? Let me rephrase that.
One thing I would say is that I found being uncomfortable comfortable. So
Okay.
again, I'll only speak about kind of my own personal sort of journey, but that you never feel more alive than when you're trying to push yourself to the max, and that's exactly what The Apprentice does. It challenges you, physically, mentally, emotionally. So yeah, that's what I'll say to that.
Amazing.
I've got to be very careful, you see, because I don't want to give anything
Yeah,
away. So
no.
I'm trying to like really think.
What we'll do is we'll hopefully be able to check in with you as it progresses, see how far you get, and well, I guess until the show, I don't know, whenever you make it to, basically, so we can give people who are listening little updates as we go. But thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolute pleasure. Again, it was really nice questions, and again, just to the dental world, thank you for the support. Please keep supporting me, and hopefully I can do the profession proud.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers.
Thank you.